All right, so welcome everybody. Of course, right now you're probably watching this part on replay, but we are going to give people about a minute or so to start coming in. And as you come in, make sure you leave your location. Let us know what city and state you are watching from, just so we can know, like, maybe you're from our side of the world, or maybe you're from somewhere else. It's just great to know who we're talking to. So let me know who you are as you come into the group, even if you are watching this on replay. And also, as you come in, let us know what issues you're dealing with. Like, what are the things that you're hoping to pop up? Like, what are the things that you're like, oh my God, I really, really hope that they go over this in this conversation? So let me know that in the chat. We're going to give you guys a chance to come in because y'all be late. And I don't want us to have to say the same things over and over again. So again, let me know where you're watching from in the chat, and we'll be ready in a second. So far, we have a new member. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for signing up. And I want you guys to make sure that you check the description box for the information that you need on our guest. Okay. And so, really quick, I was introduced to our guest through one of you. I'm sorry, don't hold it to my heart, okay? Hold it to my head, don't hold it to my heart. But I can't remember your name, but I remember one of you told me all about his channel, and I remember going over there and I was like, oh my God, like I am not on this planet alone. So today we are going to get into some things and really, really unpack like the layers of the scalp, because for so long we've been looking at hair care like from this straight and really narrow lens. Like, you have a problem with your scalp, the first thing you ask is like, seeing what oil do I use, seeing what product do I use. But today we're gonna unpack things from an internal level. So I have a question really quick. Let me know if you've ever heard of our guest, AQBS. Listen, let me tell you something. Listen, there are not too many people on YouTube. Y'all know I've been on the world internet, on the Lord's internet for over a decade, saying the same things over and over and over and over and over again. And there have not been too many times that I found anybody who even really, I'm not trying to be cocky, but who can kind of like roll with the punches as it pertains to me and the way that I teach. So today, this is going to be the most that I talk. Okay. Thank you for everybody that is here with us at the very, very end. We are going to ask questions, but don't get mad at me. I'm going to save your questions for the end because today, one asking questions. Okay. I'm talking that much today. So if you're ready to get started, give me a 2 in the chat. And when you are ready, my dear sir, you can unmute yourself and you can like maybe introduce yourself to the people, and then I'll start asking you 50 million questions.
That's good, good. So I appreciate you having me on, man. I'm a big fan of your channel as well too, and you do get into the science, so it's much appreciated. I think it's gonna be some really good synergy. But my name is AQBS, the Hair Loss Champion. I am here in Atlanta. I've been in the hair loss sphere for quite a long time. My channel's new on YouTube, but it's been something I've been passionate about for a very long time. And I'm very science based. I call myself a bro science because I use nature and humanity's first lab, which is, plants and vegetables and herbs and spices, in order to try to bring myself to what I call hair loss undetectable, which is bringing a person from totally bald all the way back to just having a normal hairstyle. So I mostly focus on men's hair loss, but a lot of the things that men go through is just, I would say, it's what other people go to as well, like women, but it's way more severe. So a lot of times when we see, a man's balding, it's just kind of symbolic of what happens, with women's hair loss as well too. So like I said, I appreciate you invited me on, and we're gonna get a good show started.
Yes. So my first question, right, is firstly, when I first came onto your channel, right, I remember the first thing that jumped out to me that you said something to the extent of most people focus on DHT, right? And you were like, it's not the DHT doesn't it's not that people are lying, but you were saying that you start looking deeper into it, right? And thinking about plaque and the different ways that plaque ends up changing the hair growth cycle and slowing it down. So do you think you can break that down for us? Like, what exactly is scalp plaque and how does it differ from like simple dandruff, and like what role does that play in the effect that most people see when they're like, oh, I need an oil or I need a grease, my hair is
Mhm.
dry?
Great question. So dandruff is like fungus. It comes from fungus, yeast. It's like the skin cells shedding off. That's what dandruff is. The fungus takes the skin cells. It takes the things embedded into the scalp. It starts producing waste. The body wants to get rid of it, so it starts, shedding, which that's what we call dandruff. But scalp plaque is different. Scalp plaque is similar to if you were to fall and you were to, get like a scratch on your knee or something like that when you were a kid and you were on your bicycle and you get that pus. A lot of times when it comes to inflammation, one of the things that the body does is attempts to fix the inflammation. Rather, it's coming from like a bacterial infection, pathogens, yeast, and inflammation does several things. But one of the things that it does is it causes the body to begin asking for cholesterol or plaque. And in men's hair loss, it's really obvious when you start looking at it what that plaque looks like, and we can kind of get into that later. But plaque to me is inflammation's side effects, pretty much. It starts accumulating into the scalp. It starts pretty much drowning the follicles, and it is the natural oil of the body, like the sebum, but it's magnified 10, 20 times. And that's when the problem starts occurring.
That's so good. So my next question is, because to me, I always try to tell people everything is cause and effect. There's a trigger, then there's the inflammation, and then there's whatever disorder you have. So what do you think, like if you could give me three things in our culture, what three things do you see that people do repetitively that would lead to plaque?
Definitely. Well, it's really, look, it's like this. And this analogy will make sense. Say, for example, we've all went to restaurants, right? And then you have a specific restaurant, you go take the food, you go throw it on the counter. And 4 days later, you come back and you see that food still looks the same. And you're like, wait, because food is supposed to break down naturally. You get something natural from the earth, you sit on a table, it's going to break down. That's a good thing, right? But those preservatives is what keeps the food, I guess, in that type of composition, because they want to sit it on trucks. They want it to sit on shelves. Now, how does that relate to hair loss? Because a lot of the synthetics and lab-based solutions that we use, you can imagine if you wanted to sit on the shelf for 7 months, then it has to have preservatives, right? But here's the problem with preservatives. Preservatives are meant not to be breaking down. So you put in stuff in your scalp, right, that is meant to maybe make it shine, maybe smell good, maybe look good, but a preservative is not supposed to be breaking down. And the way that I look at how the scalp breaks things down is very simple. I say that, excuse me, natural things such as herbs and even natural products that you can make, right, with the least amount of synthetics inside of it. The scalp or the body looks at it and says, oh, I know what keratin is. And then it says, you know what, I can break keratin down. I can break vitamin C down. I can break vitamin A down, because it's aware of that math. That's 1 + 1. But then you turn around and you give your scalp something that belongs on a car engine, and it gets in there. What happens is it says, wait a minute, that's not 1 + 1. That's not 10 - 1. that's when you start getting into trigonometry and calculus. So what does the body do? It attempts to use it in the fashion that it thinks it's supposed to be at, but it really can't. So what does it do? It starts storing it places. And that storage is what's causing the inflammation. So I would view it as this. If it's a preservative in it, it's meant not to be breaking down. So the scalp can't do it. It does. It can't. It doesn't know what it's doing. So
Uh-oh. I think I lost you at the end.
you said,
oh, there we go.
Okay. Okay. So you asked a direct question. You said, what 3 things? It's a lot of times, it's the greases. It's the greases for men. A lot of times we use that. It's definitely the oils, right? Because even if it's natural oils, it has to go someplace. Like and your system has to be able to take that oil, use the vitamins from it, because what you're trying to do is feed the scalp. But where does the residue go? Is the question. Where does the residue go? And even if it's, like I said, a perfect oil, it has to still move through the body. It can't stay in the scalp, and that causes inflammation. So oils, greases, different type of shampoos that are meant to smell good, look good, texture look good. But when it's all said and done, the math doesn't add up. And the scalp eventually over time gets overrun, and you're going to start seeing effects. But the problem is those effects come so slow. By the time we understand what caused it, we've been using it for years. And that's one of the problems with, with products.
Yes. And I think that, to me, that's one of the main road blockages, because when you think about it, when you don't know these things and then you just layer product after product and you have different hacks that literally tell you, hey, the more products you layer on top of the hair, the better. Like, wouldn't you say that those are things that trigger the inflammation? And then one thing that I also discovered, because scientifically it's like layers. Like, we could literally be here for hours just putting layers upon layers. So even when you go back, like if you connect that to fibrosis with like that type of, all of the examples that you laid out, plus the tension and the pulling from the braids and the scarring that it leads to, would you say that those things in conjunction together can really, really put stress on the follicle that will slow down the hair growth cycle, which could be the reason that most Black women have a slower hair growth cycle than most people? Would you say that some of these things could be determining factors, and in what way?
Absolutely. And you said something there. I look at it as if it's called acute follicle stress. And early on, I was trying to connect all the alopecias, and I kind of did that. And I said, wait, if people have a stress out, let's just say a couple of months, they lose hair, that's stress. If people use tugging and braids and stuff, that's a mechanical, physical stress. If you get too much cortisol, that's like a hormonal stress. If you have DHT, that's like, again, hormonal androgen stress. If you become infected or irritated, then it's like a immune response stress. So what happens is, if you view it, you'll say, I lose hair when my follicle goes under acute follicle stress. So what is the most stressful thing that causes the follicle to lose hair? And I say definitely it's inflammation from those products. Definitely. Matter of fact, I go on further to say this, that it's not what you add to the scalp, it's what you remove from it. Because here's the thing, you're not growing hair from the scalp itself, it's coming through the body. Your diet, the foods you eat, all these things. So really, when you're growing hair, you want to look at yourself and say, if my hair is struggling, then the question should be, what's internally struggling? And topicals and products like that are really your sidekicks. They're like the 20%, 25%, but really it's acute follicle stress can come from mechanical stress. And you want to think about not what product you can put on there, but what layers you could remove so it can actually grow appropriately.
Can I just say that before I ask you your next question, I feel like you should open up your own church because I'm trying to contain myself over here because the way, even if you like look at the comments, like the way that you're breaking it down, like they've heard it before, but it's just like so like straightforward. I appreciate it because I think that hair care has been made over complicated, right? And even the way that we take care of the scalp, before I move on to the next question, what do you think? Like, what is your opinion on? Okay, let's go back. When we talked about inflammation, right? We talk about like our scalp's natural microflora, like the different types of yeast and bacteria, the parasite, Demodex, all of the things, right? So, what do you think about uh basically maintenance and how like our culturally how we think that Black people don't have sebaceous glands, so we add oils and butters. And what is your opinion on, before we move on, what is your opinion on oils and butters and what they do to the scalp's microflora? Like if, because most people look at it as like, okay, they're feeding their scalp, right? They're feeding it like the hair, our scalp is like dirt, right? And you gotta feed it and water it and stuff. So like, what is your take? Would you say that oils are going to feed the bacteria and the yeast, like furthering and triggering the inflammation, and in what ways? Like, I know you kind of touched on it, but do you think you could go into it a little bit deeper and just slightly give them the difference? Because there are topical treatments that work, right? But
Absolutely.
there's certain ways that you use it. I think that you have different topical treatments that you have in your practice, and it's the same thing with me with herbs and the way that I use some of my extracts and tinctures and things of that nature. So, like, what do you think the end result, the negative result is of using herbs the wrong way on the scalp as it pertains, just simply because we could go super far with that, but I just mean as it pertains to it like increasing inflammation.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say this: the butters and the oils are going to be about the worst you could do. And but here's, so I know what it looks like. Now, if you get some nice butter on your hair, and for our type of textures, it makes it shine, it makes it look thick. It looks like that on the surface, right? But let me say it this way: there's a like a myth of hair being dead. And I think that's one of the things that I had to kind of retrain in myself, right? So let's look at it this way. If you had a steak on the table, right? That steak can make you healthy if you eat it, right? Or maybe it's vegetables if you're vegan. But you never would say that that cow is healthy because it's a steak now. That cow is not going to ever be healthy, right? It's just the minerals in the steak that's going to make you healthy, but you're consuming it. So my point is this: follicle, if the hair was dead, then nothing we put on it should matter. How can you have healthy dead hair? So you see somebody with long, thick hair. I'm telling you, from the follicle to the tip, that thing is alive. It's alive. There's no such thing as dead hair. Nothing on your body is going to be dead hanging off your body. So I think a lot of times, so when we use these products, right, we say, well, I'm gonna look on the back of this butter and I see, 50 things inside of it, but it's just shining my hair. But actually your hair is eating everything that gets on top of it. So let's just say butters, okay? If it's from some store or something like that, it's eating. When you look on the back of that bottle, it's going to eat all of that stuff. But here's the thing: it's going to look good at first, but the body can't accept it. Again, going back to math, it's going to be eventually starting to break down. It's going to get brittle. It's going to get thin, and then you're going to say, "I need more of that." But actually, what's causing the thinning, what's causing the breaking, what's causing your hair to not look like you want it to look, is actually the stuff that you're using. And I think, I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose. I'm just saying that what is their motive for that product? Is it monetary? I mean, the label looks fine. It smells good, but is it really going to take your hair to where you need it to be at? More than likely not. So if you look at hair as being dead, you will use anything on it. But if you look at it as an extension of your body, then things will start making more sense.
Whew. Thank you for saying that. I think that, to me, that one little piece right there, I think that's one of the things that confuses women the most. And it gives them the excuse, right, to leave accountability behind, because it's like, my hair is dead. It doesn't matter. And I'm so glad you brought that down, because I always say, how can, if the hair shaft is dead and it doesn't matter, how can I control it and open it and close it based on the temperature of the water I put on it? That doesn't make sense, right? Like, something that's dead wouldn't respond to stimuli. Like, we have bonds in it that we could take out and put back in. So thank you for going into that, because that's something that people really need to understand. So my next thing is, what could you break down what's actually happening in the follicle when inflammation is present? Because I think a lot of people kind of get confused. Most women look at hair care on a surface level, right? They don't even really think about follicles. It's like, okay, what product do I put on? My scalp is itching. What do I do, right? And most women say, like, oh, if it's burning, if it's itching, what do I do? Where in reality, there could be so many different reasons that it could be burning or itching. So, like, what would you say is like the best type of thing that's happening, like the best way to describe what's actually happening in the follicle when you're experiencing inflammation?
Good. So we can look at this two different ways, but the first thing I would say is, when you start getting itching, I call it the three I's. It's like irritation, infection, and inflammation. And with the three I's, a lot of times you're going to see symptoms of that. You're going to see the dandruff, because if you see dandruff, then I would say I have a lot of dandruff. That means I have a lot of yeast that's using something that I'm using to cause my skin to want to keep on throwing off layers. It's protecting itself by creating the dandruff. So inflammation, a lot of times, doesn't show up on the surface. I mean, you'll get that little, a little bit of pain there, a little tenderness. But a lot of times, what the follicle is trying to do is use its immune system in order to fight against it. So what would be a sign if there's something like similar, like maybe like acne or something like that? Because acne gives you a clue, but sometimes we're not getting acne like that. So what is your clue? If your hair stops growing, or if it stagnates, it's probably because it's using energy to fight against some sort of immune response. So a lot of times, like, man, I can't grow long hair or thick hair, but inflammation will be underneath. It will be very micro. So it's not taking your hair out as much as the follicle is fighting using energy against that inflammation. So your hair won't grow the way it needs to, but maybe it does grow, but maybe it's brittle, or maybe it's not as thick, or maybe you'll have, one follicle with 3 hairs and it's supposed to be 4 or 5 a lot of times. So the follicle is too busy trying to defend itself than to actually grow more hair. So you say, I don't have thick hair. Well, actually you have 2 hairs growing out that one follicle, and it could be 5. So that's what inflammation does. And then also inflammation will probably come from some sort of immune response. So why would it do that? More than likely yeast, more than likely pathogens, more than likely things that don't belong in there. You mentioned something earlier talking about how we have like the microflora, we have like the microbiome that's already in the scalp. It is like that. It has its own system. And that system is, if you notice when you're a child, that's the system is in. But as you get older, our bodies start to age a little bit, and we start to get the products, the food, the diets, things change. And then when you add the products to it, now you totally change your normal scalp flora. And that inflammation, again, you may not see it, but the clue would be, is my hair growing like it grew when I was 20? And you're just 28, then okay, it's something I need to change about it.
That's so good, because that reminds me of, little sidebar, that reminds me of, I'm sure you heard of it, the things that were going on with like Mael Organics and stuff like that. And
Absolutely.
I wasn't saying that necessarily she wasn't guilty of it, but I believe, just piggybacking off of what you just said, like imagine your follicle underneath, right? It's still not on the surface level, it hasn't manifested, it's still going on, and you end up using a really, really strong product full of like 5, 6, or 7 different essential oils, and you put that on the scalp. Would you not, and obviously we're not saying that this is what it is, we are speaking in theory, but would you say that it's safe to say that that could have just been like the trigger that just sent it over the edge? If your follicle is already going through inflammation and all of these different things, and then you put an extremely strong essential oil on there, and then mind you, they weren't washing it off, right? They were putting it on daily, drenching the scalp with it, and then not shampooing the hair for like a month, right? So, like, would you say that in a situation like that, um, could you explain how essential oils should be used and how they could be used improperly? Because before we move on, I would want to hack into that, because there are other people that talk about inflammation and things of that nature. And some people would sign off here and say, oh, okay, inflammation, I get it. All I have to do is put rosemary on it. And some people just take rosemary essential oil straight out the bottle, slather it all over their head. So what would you say, what role would you say essential oils and oils play in treatment? Obviously, you don't got to get your secrets away, because I know you got your
No, it's okay. No, this is good. No, here's the thing. Have you ever, like the listeners, right? You can go to the store and get some like a turmeric drink, and it's good. But if you actually were to take real turmeric or ginger and break it down yourself and really, really make that product, you'll see how spicy ginger really is, right? So I have like a little lab kit that I do, and I'll create my essential oils myself. And I learned something about this, is that essential oils are taking something that is spread across, like that vegetable or that herb, and it's kind of spread across there, and it's not really meant to be so concentrated. So putting like an essential oil on there, you're taking something that's extremely powerful. It's almost like medicine, the way you want to view it. Although it says rosemary, but that's the essence, that's the power of rosemary consolidated into something very small. And that can be like a time bomb. That's why they say things like rosemary, peppermint oil, you dilute it. Now you got to do a carrier and dilute it, because it was never meant to be in that small of a space in your follicles like that, because it's too strong. And that's one of the things. So we throw, around the words like rosemary, but they could be just as bad as the pharmaceuticals, especially if you got 7, 6, 7, 8 of them, and you keep using them every day. To your point, yes, you will cause the follicle acute follicle stress, because what kind of stress is that? That's chemical stress. Now, it's a natural chemical, but it's chemical stress the same as if you take something that's synthetic and do the same exact thing.
Oh, thank you for that, because I think that's another thing that confuses people. They find out that essential oils are the cure, and I think that's one issue, sort of, kind of, that I have explaining. Like, it's not that oils are just the horrific thing, but they have their place. Just like if you're going to get your car fixed, you're not going to expect your mechanic to come out there with a bagel roller to fix your car, right? Like, you use certain tools for certain things. And I think that's an area that most women get confused with, because they hear, oh, this essential oil kills this, or it helps with this, and then they'll just literally slather their hair. I've had patients that literally slather their hair in rosemary oil, just pure rosemary oil, and they never make the connection that, oh, when I did that 6 months ago, it started making my hair fall out gradually. So before we move on, could you kind of break that down for them? Because I'm sure you've heard me explain it 50 million times. Could you give them your version of hair weathering, like breaking it down? Because most people think like they'll use a product and it's like, oh, my hair feels good. It gave me slip. And then they'll keep using it. And because their hair didn't break down that day, they don't look at that product as the issue when their hair falls out 6 months later. So could you
That's
explain, like in your own words, like the timing, that time lapse with withering?
so going from being totally bald and regrowing hair, and it's something that's not very common in the industry. I'm one of the very few people who has it documented that was like totally bald and starting to regrow my hair back to what I call hair loss undetectable. But why does that matter here? It matters because I had to literally watch the pattern of how hair grows from that bald skin all the way up through the villus hairs, through the small terminals, and it kind of gives you a lot of information. So how does this, relate to the products? Well, I noticed a few things with that. Hair is very strong, but it takes a long time for it to go from that villus stage to that terminal stage. And these growth stages, so when they say stuff like, you use this oil for like, I don't know, a month or so, and you're going to grow 4 inches. I'm telling you, that I wish it worked that way, but it doesn't work that way because the follicle grows hair slow comparably. And if you got problems going on, it's going to be slower than average. So with that stated, when you use these products over time, you kind of slow down your progress, and you 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 start putting the follicle into, like, I call it a coma stage or intelligence stage. And here's the thing that a lot of people, they don't tell us, is that the villus hairs, or really the hair on your face right now, everybody got the little downy hair on their face, you can't see it, right? And then the next stage is villus hairs, and then the other stage is like small terminal and then large terminal. When you begin using products that break your hair down, you actually are taking your hair from terminal to small terminal to villus back to dawny. It's a regression. So a lot of times you would see our cousins, and then you kind of use like the braids and these really, really strong glues and stuff like that. And you guys' baby hair kind of goes away, and you think that it should stay that way. But really, what you did is you took your terminal hair back down to a small terminal hair back down to a villus, and now it's back to dawny, and you have to kind of take it back up. But those products kind of weather your hair down in that fashion. So when you think that you're balding, what you've actually done is took it all the way back to the follicle is now closed in the coma position.
It's just, and I think that's okay. To me, the way that I break it down, or like the analogy or the comparison that I make to it, because most of the time, I'm sure you've had clients or patients like this who come to you and they expect whatever you tell them to do, like they do that 2 or 3 times, and then they expect it to just work like within a week or two. But I always make the comparison of, like, if you go to a doctor or something and you have some type of ailment, whatever medication they give you, they'll tell you like you have to give it 3 to 4 months for it to get into your system to start like retraining the body. So thank you for breaking that down, because I don't think people understand like that your scalp, in a way, like you said, your scalp in a way has a digestive system just like your gut does. It's obviously not exactly the same, and it runs differently, but thank you for breaking that down, because I think if people could understand the external things that they do, then we can go into the internal. So our next question is leading us there. So would you say that, I'm going to ask you 2 questions at the same time. So would you say that inflammation actually damages the stem cells that grow hair in the first place? That's my first question. And then my second question to you is, do you think that plaque that you told us about before, do you think that that actually is going to be the thing that chokes the follicle from the inside? Because everybody, whenever sometimes people will say like, oh, Sam, my hair is dry, the sebaceous gland, da, 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 I don't see any oil, blah, 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 blah. But that's something, if your follicles are blocked and full of plaque, these are things that could take place. So what do you think is happening? Like, is that the real problem happening, the blockage, or do you think it's all of these things compiled together with the diet? And then from the end of that question, can we just hop straight into like digestion and our hair growth starting like from our gut and all of the things? Like, let's just.
Absolutely. Good. That's a great question. So the stem cells is what, because can inflammation actually damage the stem cells that regrow hair? So the way I look at stem cells is kind of like the way you want to look at the immune system. But instead of the stem cells for the follicles to grow hair, as I stated earlier, they're too busy trying to patch up something that's broken again. So if you have a house, right? Say you're building a house. You got the piping going, you're building the walls, the roof, and someone, your neighbor, is taking pieces of your house away. So instead of building the house, you're going to have to keep on using your energy to put those pieces back that your neighbor's taken away. And that's what I look at how stem cells are. You got plenty of them, but because you're breaking down the follicles and the scalp system, and you're breaking down how hair grows, instead of the stem cells saying, look, I'm about to make some more hair, it's saying, wait, I need to patch this. I need to patch this. And you kind of get in this sustained state. So that's kind of why I think about it. It's like they're a little army, but they can never get ahead because they're always trying to fix the bridges and fix the area instead of using it for hair growth. Now, as far as plaque is concerned, it's definitely what's choking out the scalp. For example, in men's hair loss, and everybody has seen this, right? You're going to notice that men's scalp a lot of times is shiny. It's very shiny. And that always bugged me because it's like, why? I'm not using any grease. And I was the same way, where I'm not using any greases, because when you ball, I mean, what are you going to use, right? So, but why is it so shiny? And then when you start looking at it and you start doing the research, you understand that inflammation creates plaque and cholesterol. And I'm going to give you an example. It's almost like atherosclerosis of the scalp, because they said something. If you listen to them, like men are to take finasteride, and finasteride is supposed to stop DHT. And we can get into that a little bit too. DHT from attacking your follicles. I don't know why DHT, a hormone, would attack your follicles, but that's a different story, okay? But here's the thing about it. DHT is not necessarily attacking the follicles as much as it's trying to fix the actual inflammation. And inflammation comes, again, from various different things that's occurring in your scalp. But the plaque itself is kind of like the same plaque that we use when it comes to, or that we have like blood vessels. Men who are bald are 5 times likely to have heart attacks. And that really stood out to me because I said, so what does balding have to do with heart attacks? But it's true. As a matter of fact, the finasteride that we're using stops men from having heart attacks. So what's the common denominator? The common denominator is that same plaque that attacks our other arteries within our body, especially the heart, is the same plaque that's in the scalp, but it just shows up differently. So in my case, plaque is why men's bald head looks shiny, and it's also what's choking the follicle out because the resources can't get to it. As a matter of fact, there are about 3 different versions of what you call plaque. It's the butter type of stuff that comes out. It's crystallization of lipids, and it's in a sebum. And there are several things about it. But when you all said and done, when you break it down, this same plaque of cholesterol is what chokes the follicle out from a men's perspective. A little different. Now, there are other things that cause hair loss, of course, but plaque is definitely one of them.
But that's amazing because I know I had a couple of people ask me that question, with their husbands being bald or just people in their life. They're like, "Oh, is that sebum on the scalp?" And that's one of the first things that you would think. But it confused me at first too. That's why I was like, "Oh my God, can you break that down?" Because that was the first thing that made me start digging deeper into it. Because I'm like, I know this can't be an overproduction of sebum. How could your follicle be that open and that active to produce sebum but not new hair cells? Like that didn't make sense. I'm like, something's blocking it. And when I look, more into your channel or even the things that you've developed and created,
Mhm.
we share a lot of different things with the way that we treat our clients. Because could you explain before we move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Could you explain the role that like remove like a scalp scrub or something that removes dead skin, like how that plays a role, or shampooing your hair regularly with the right types of shampoos, how that will play a role?
I think, and it goes back to what we discussed earlier, it's not about addition, it's about subtraction. So, and subtraction is also removing those dead layers. As a matter of fact, fibrosis is the cooking of the scalp. And that's a lot of times when you see men and women's hair loss, they kind of move back where you had hair kind of lower on your forehead. And over time, the forehead moves back. And that's what we call like fibrosis. And fibrosis is the thickening of the scalp layers that you have to remove. And why do you have to remove them? Because those things overgrow on top of your follicles. So a lot of times, if you guys can see this, your husbands, cousins, brothers, right? You look at them and they're bald, and you'll notice something. You never see follicles. You're going to not never look at their forehead where it used to be a hairline and see open follicles. It's just going to look like their face skin all the way up. But when you start breaking that down, removing those products, removing those skin layers, through scalp peeling, like salicylic acid is a good one. Of course, all this has to be done in balance. And the shampoos you use, you want the shampoo not to leave residue. You want it to take off as much as possible. Scalp massaging, things to get, all you want to do is have a clear, flexible layer of scalp without any residue on it, without any oils on it. Your own natural oil should suffice because it's going to match with your body's chemistry and your body's pH. When you start using those other things, and when you have extra skin layers and dandruff, then the pH in your scalp goes off, then the yeast comes in, and then it just becomes like this cycle. So we have to figure out a way of breaking the cycle of hair loss, or in you guys' case, not being optimal. And a lot of times, to your point, saying it starts with what can I remove? And if you remove those things, then the scalp will do it. Look, your hair wants to grow. Your hair absolutely wants to grow. And I believe that everybody should be able to have long hair. It is very natural for you to have hair. Many people listening right now, right? They got cats and dogs. They got mice. They got pets, right? Let me tell you, if your cat walked up to you or your dog walked up to you and it started losing fur, you're going to say, wait, that's a problem. You're not going to look and say, okay, my cat has no fur on this ear. That's just something that's going to happen. Every time we see alopecia in our pets, in animals, we say that's a problem. Alopecia is always pointing to the fact that something went wrong internally or something is off externally. It should never be accepted that my hair just don't grow or I don't have my baby hairs anymore. It should be, okay, I need to fix this because it's symbolic of a bigger problem. So hair loss, in my humble opinion, is unnatural. And that's why we have to use unnatural stuff to try to fix it. If your body was in its optimal position, you shouldn't start losing hair until you 60, 70, 80 years old, if that, if that.
Yes, because my husband's aunt, when she passed away at 105 years old, she still had a full head of hair. Like her hair, like was thinning a little bit in the middle, but she had a full head of hair. And you want to know something funny before we move to the next question, because this verifies everything that you say. She had the same diet forever. Like they all would go to the grocery store for it, and she always had salmon, asparagus. Like it was always like very, very simplistic. So I think that the things that she put in her body directly reflected how she ended up. Like she literally just passed because 105 years were, it was too long, but her body was still like moving good. She was still able to go on walks and all of the things. So that leads me to our next question, which you basically already answered. I'm just asking you to unpack it a little more. What are the most common triggers that can cause scalp inflammation pertaining to diet, stress, genetics, or just the overall environment? What do you think these things are?
I look at it this way. I look at the scalp as an upside down, inside out stomach. And it sounds weird to say that, but let's look at something like psoriasis, right? Or cradle cap. I should say cradle cap. Isn't it like ironic that a baby is in the womb, totally protected, right? But it's still, he or she still may develop cradle cap. But we know what cradle cap is. It's like yeast. So even in the womb, that yeast decides, you know what, I can go anywhere on this baby, but you know where I'm going to? I'm going to the scalp. Right? So, and then when you think about adult, psoriasis of the scalp, same exact thing. You might see it on your elbows and places like that, but a lot of times it will be in the scalp as well too. And what is it? It's yeast. Why does this bacteria choose the scalp? Here's the thing, and I've said this on my channel a little bit. If you look at our bodies, there are places on our bodies that has a lot more bacteria and a lot more things that can go wrong. Let's just say, for example, the ear. The ear is closed, it's warm, it has wax, it's open. But guess what? Me, like myself, we got hair growing out our ears. It doesn't fall. It goes out our ear and it stays there. I got to cut it all the time.
My husband has hair in his ears.
Exactly. But logically, if it was just about, bacteria and stuff, the ear, you shouldn't grow any hair. But the way I look at it is you have to keep things sanitized and keep things in a way that doesn't allow things to overgrow or come or get out of order, for example. So going back to the actual like scalp and stomach analogy, the stomach is the immune system, but a lot of times the things that we eat can damage our guts. So where do those pathogens go? Where do they like to be? They like to be in the scalp.
Ooh.
They love to be in the scalp. I don't know why they choose, but I think because it matches with the stomach. Matter of fact, they got hairs in the stomach. And someone told me this years ago. They said, you just don't have hairs on your scalp, on your body. You have hairs inside of your body.
Yes.
And they call that villi. And I'm like, wait, you grow villi on your scalp, and then you have villi that kind of moves nutrition through your stomach. So what happens is when you have something like gluten, for example, I'm highly allergic to gluten, but I was taking it and eating it when I was younger, ramen noodles and spaghetti and all this other stuff. But when I got older, I started getting like these celiac symptoms. My face would flush, all these other problems with my stomach. And I started putting two and two together. And I noticed something, that my hair started becoming worse as my stomach problems became worse. So that's what gluten was doing. But it kind of does something like it damages the lining of your guts, and those things that are supposed to be kept, the food particles and the bacteria, the waste that was in your stomach, it starts kind of rotating and cycling through your body, and somehow it ends up in the scalp. And that's what, to me, was causing a lot of our hair loss. And that's why I connected to diet. I said, yeah, whole foods are great, but also your gut health. To me, a person with beautiful hair is going to be a person with a good gut. They're going to have an amazing gut if you have good hair, because the minute that gut goes wrong, and what I mean by that is your stomach lining, the absorption rates. So maybe on the outside everything looks fine, but if your absorption rates and your stomach is not ideal because of things that's inflaming the stomach, because inflammation is what causes the problem to lose the stomach to lose its hair. So when the
Mhm.
stomach loses its hair, then guess what loses its hair? The scalp does too.
And that's so good because that reminds me of a couple of patients that I have that have alopecia areata. And alopecia areata, one of its main causes is when your body starts attacking your immune system, and the immune system starts to attack the hair follicle. So when our diet is off, especially learning and knowing, like you talked about with hairs in the stomach, I don't want to get the number wrong, but I think like over 70% of your stomach, of your immune system is inside of your stomach lining.
Yeah.
So if your diet is off, if you're eating things that you're not supposed to, and you disrupt everything that's going on in your gut, then that's going to directly cause something like alopecia areata or different things. Like for me, for an example, my body deals with hidradenitis suppurativa, where my body produces way too much estrogen and way too much cortisol, right? My body, like when my sweat glands get infected, my body like goes to attack itself. Like my body literally attacks itself. So I have to eat to restructure my immune system so that way my follicles become invisible again, right? So how in knowing that your follicles are normally, like if everything's going good, like you said, like if the environment of the scalp is how it's supposed to be, we know that our follicles have immune privilege. Like our immune system isn't supposed to see them, but when we do these different things, we end up building up the microbes, and we start basically shining a light. Like, hey, immune system, come attack my follicle, make me bald head real quick. That's basically what's happening. So, what do you think that microbes like bacteria or yeast play a role? How do they play a role in plaque and hair thinning? You talked about that already, but do you think these are the same inflammatory pathways seen in psoriasis and other forms of active balding?
I think so too. I think the difference is psoriasis shows up and we can point our finger to it and they can give you medicine for it, but it's psoriasis underneath the epidermis. So we don't
Mhm.
see what's occurring. Like the good thing about psoriasis and these topical type of problems is that we can see it. But when you're losing hair, a lot of times it's underneath the surface. Just like when we grow plaque, it's not necessarily sitting on the top of the surface, it's underneath it. But I want to give you this analogy that helped me to create products for myself in trying to restore my hairline. And I began to start looking at follicles as if they were feminine, because I noticed that women with a healthy sense of estrogen and a balance, right, will grow nice hair. And if you notice that when men transition to women, they will give them something that's like super estrogen.
Mhm.
And what happens when they do that? This men who had a like a McDonald's type of ball, right? The like the little, horseshoe ball, they began to grow hair back as they began to having these treatments. Their voices got lighter, the hair on their face starts going away. So estrogen takes a man
Yes.
from a hair perspective down back in the path down to like more woman like. Okay. So a lot of times we have to kind of be careful when it comes to, like I said, the balance of the scalp, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. And it's so good that you broke into that too, because that reminds me of a video I did not too long ago. And you're into herbs too. So
Mhm.
with red clover tops are one of my favorite herbs because it
Yeah.
mimics like female estrogen. And it like does the same thing. Some of the key constituents within it mimics female estrogen. So
Yeah.
well, mimics estrogen in general. So it ends up helping me to reverse my symptoms of HS. It actually makes it so that it's not triggered at all because it balances my hormone levels. It balances the estrogen so my body isn't producing too many, right? So that really ties into what you just said and really, really paying attention to our hormonal pathways and all of the things. So in your own words, just for your own opinions, what are the most effective ways to calm inflammation in the scalp without damaging hair further? And I want you to come at this from an internal perspective, because if you tell them, oh, do this on the scalp, they're gonna go do it right now and they're not gonna listen to what you say. They're gonna add, if you say add a table, 1 tablespoon, they're gonna add 10. So just from an internal perspective.
Good. So this is a point where if you do, if you could put up the scalp spectrum chart, if you can. So I want to kind of get into that a little bit, and it'll kind of make sense what the direction we're going to go in.
Is it this
Yeah,
one?
it's that one.
Let me
Okay.
take this banner off. Go ahead.
No worries. No worries. So when it comes to the scalp, there's the alpha scalp, and that's the -7s. That's when men like myself have no hair at the top. And then you have the +7, when you have, certain women have hair growing down to their ankles, right? In the middle is most people. That's, -2 and +2. And that's the kind of like the average. What happens is, for me to be able to grow hair again, I have to move that -7 back toward the omega scalp, which many of you would have. And what is an omega scalp? It's a scalp that's loose. It's not restricted. It's not tight. It's not inflamed. It's not thick with plaque or thick with cholesterol. It doesn't have infection, inflammation, irritation. It doesn't have a lot of the toxins from products. It doesn't have issues from the immune system coming from the gut. And it's really a scalp that is not under duress or under warfare from the immune system. But when you look at the alpha scalp of men, especially again, men who are totally bald, that's a scalp that's tight. That guy would not be able to press his fingers against his scalp and push up, and the skin won't move because it will be tight. The muscles are locked. It's going to be full of, again, plaque, cholesterol, interstitial fluid. As a matter of fact, when you begin removing that stuff from the scalp, you will start seeing all type of stuff come from the scalp. I mean, that's why I'm not on camera today, because I did a treatment. So the point I'm making is, it's what you remove from you guys' scalp is what you're going to get to the positive levels. Because most people, again, they fall in the average. But if you want the hair that you're looking for, to Sen's point, you do have to kind of look, because it's not genetics, not in the sense that we call it. So let me just kind of break down the genetic piece. Genetics will tell you what you're probably allergic to, what you should stay away from. In my case, gluten. But it doesn't say, AQBS, when you get 25 years old, you should be bald. That's not the genetic portion. The genetic portion says, AQBS, you can't do gluten. You can't do dairy. If you do that, you're going to go bald. But if John does that, he won't, because his genes is not as sensitive to it. So it's not necessarily about like DHT as much as it is about lifestyle, and everybody is a little different. So to answer your question directly, I would say that the gut system is extremely important, because it is what represents the scalp. And then I would say on the other end of it is, whatever you use, let's just say your oil works, jojoba oil and things that kind of get through the skin. If it does work and go through, you got to ask yourself this question: what is not going to be breaking down, and what is my scalp going to try to do with it once it gets in there? And it's not going to use it for hair growth, because the hair growth is coming from your vessels, your circulation, right? And of course, topicals do work, but I'm simply saying is what's coming along with it. What's that Trojan horse that's coming along with your topicals? So keep everything clean. Use your shampoos, but keep in mind, hair is not dead, the scalp is not dead, and the scalp eats whatever you give it, and it would rather eat the stuff that the stomach does. Minus the bacteria and all of those.
Right. Oh, this is so amazing. I mean, you don't have to, because I know that this part is like outside of the spectrum, but even the way that you just broke this down, the way that you explained it, it even really makes sense, and it even breaks down what happens to my body with HS. Because, for an example, like right now, I'm in remission. I've been in remission for a minute, but at this very second, if I go eat beef, right, like anything other than chicken, it is going to give me an instant outbreak, down to the point like I could finish eating and I could feel my trigger spots starting to become inflamed. So it's literally the same exact thing that you're saying. Like, there are certain triggers, and when people say certain things, I don't want to use the word triggering for me, but some people, everybody's different, or what works for you may not work for this person, which is true. But for the most part, as human beings, we all have the same makeup, with slight differences, but it's
Mm.
only when you know your body, like you know your body, you know that, okay, gluten, that's my trigger. And now that you know gluten is your trigger, you can make different plans so that way you're avoiding those triggers, so you don't get those actions that come with it, the inflammation, the balding, all of the things. So that was really, really good. Thank you for explaining that to people, because I don't really think women understand how the things that they eat, right, the things that they put in their body, or the things they don't put in their body, how that really affects them internally. So thank you for that. And my last, well, not my last question. My next question is, do you think, or could you give any type of early intervention tips that could stop these cycles of follicle damage and hair loss? Do you have any tips?
Let me see. How would early intervention? I would say it kind of goes back to what we're talking about. Is, and I don't want to repeat myself again, but there are three main areas of the scalp that we have to kind of look at, and this is going to make sense from a male perspective, balding, and it's going to make sense from like a hair growth perspective. What I discovered is that the body uses the top of the scalp as kind of like a depot. So
Hmm.
when your kidneys and liver and stomach is overran with things that don't belong in there, like our artificial stuff that we're eating all the time, preservatives, things that's not whole food, it needs to let these things go. It tries to, let it out through the waste system, but it can't. All of it, and some of the stuff can't be broken down. So it's trying to figure out where to put it at. Well, the body is smart. It decides, look, I know a place where there's a bunch of holes there that gets a lot of heat, that has a lot of I would say releasing oils and releasing sweat, things of this nature, and it's the scalp. So what we can do is, I know that the kidney I'm overran, the liver I'm overran, the stomach I'm not having a good time. Let's send it there, and hopefully the scalp can release it. But the
Mm.
problem is, at the top of the vertex of men, that's where it kind of collects at, and when it collects there, that's when it goes down to the balding process. Now with women, a lot of times, because you don't have the androgens that I have, and what does this matter? Me and my sister both eat the same things. We both have similar genetics. And think about it. A lot of you guys have brothers and stuff like that. How are they bald and you're not? You're eating the same exact things they are. What's the difference is, as men, we have androgens, and that DHT is what's going to create the plaque environment. So I'm gonna tell you this. This is why when women get to a certain age, 55, 65 years old, and menopause hits, right? How do you notice that they start losing hair? It's not
Mhm.
because they're just more unhealthy. It's because they don't have the estrogen that they had at 25 or 45. So what happens? Their androgens get out of control. Now they have more DHT, and they start getting the same balding as men. So it's very important to kind of keep to me, in my humble opinion, to keep that estrogen where it needs to be, especially when you start going 20, 30, 40s, kind of keep it where it needs to be. If men had estrogen, then we wouldn't bald like that. And that's why they give that estrogen to men who want to transition to women. And it actually works. So the depot is what collects all these things. In the frontal, which is pretty funny with men when we kind of recede hair, that's because fibrosis smashes the epidermis, the dermis, and the lower dermis together. So in you guys' case, what you see is I don't got my baby hair. But what men see is we see the receding. And last but not least, the other area that I would look at it, very strongly is the ring around the head. If you guys ever noticed a guy who's bald, he'll have hair on the sides and none on the top. That little ring, that thing gets inflamed too. That's called the Gallia ridge or the Gallia wall. And that's actually what squeezes the scalp so that you could, so the blood vessels and the arteries do not give blood to the top of the scalp, which makes it bald. So early intervention is making sure those three areas never go out of balance. You want to make sure that your scalp is clean and sanitized and not having a lot of stuff inside of it. Inflammation is going to cause you to kind of blow up with plaque. And you guys won't see it, but you're going to get the symptoms. You're going to get the acne. You're going to get the dandruffs. You're going to get, I need to scratch my head. If you have to use products because your scalp is itching, look at it differently and say, my scalp is itching. I got to figure out why. And then you go down the path of, like I said, the 3 whys. If you look at the symptoms of something and you just say, okay, my scalp is itching, let me scratch it. Or let me use some oil, let me use something in order to fix it. I suggest you do this. My scalp is itching and it has acne. Why? Okay, let me figure out why it has this acne. Is it infected? No, it's not. Is it inflamed? It kind of looks like that way. So what caused my inflammation? Is it topical? Is it internal? So ask yourself the question why several times until you can kind of get to the root cause of things, right? And lastly, when you look at it and say, why am I losing hair? And you take yourself down, a lot of times you're not going to point to products. Matter of fact, you're going to go the opposite and say, I need to stop doing this because this is what caused it.
That's so good. And it's so crazy that you went there because the next question I was about to ask you. I was about to ask you to break down your 3 whys for them, because I think that this is so important for people to learn, like how to be their own scientists at home. Like, of course, it's great for them to have somebody like you to go to, somebody like me to go to, but we always want, I think I can speak for myself. I don't know if you agree, but I want my clients to be able to think logically, right? If something happens and I'm not able to get to them, I still want them to be able to think logically. So could you break down in a way that everybody else can kind of digest it, the 3 whys and what that process should look like?
Yeah, because there's this myth that DHT causes hair loss. And you guys are going to hear it. Men have heard it. 90% of the products on the market is DHT it's a testosterone. It's causing hair loss. And my thought process was, well, why was something like that's actually causing me to grow hair? For example, the hair that I got on my face is caused by DHT, right? So it's making me grow hair, but they're saying it's taking the hair off the top of my head, and it doesn't make any sense. And I said, okay, well, why is it targeting the scalp hair? Oh, because it's sensitive. That doesn't make any sense either, because women have DHT, you don't see this problem. So I had to keep asking myself the question, why? So, okay, why is DHT attacking my follicles? And I said that earlier. Why would any part of the body see if a part of the body, like you mentioned, your issue is attacking the body, it's because that part of the body is showing signs that it's being hosted by something else. Now, it doesn't have to be real. It can just be that, for example, DHT is attacking the hair follicle. Why? Because the hair follicle seems as if it has an inflammation going on. Why? Because the yeast in my scalp has been overran, is thrown off the scalp balance. Why? Because I'm using products in it that's actually, they're taking this and they're making a microfilm or a biofilm, and or their waste from the bacteria. That waste is causing inflammation, which a lot of times they don't tell us that not only does the greases and the different things, even oils, can have a problem or cause a problem with the scalp. It actually can cause waste to get worse from the bacteria and the pathogens. So if you keep asking yourself why, what you're going to end up with is not the symptom, you're going to end up with the root. And a lot of time, like, folliculitis and things of this nature, it's really the same thing. All alopecias are the same thing. And it's usually the immune system says something is wrong, I need to fix it. And hair loss is, or hair growth is don't worry about growing hair right now. What we need to do is fix this inflammation and infection you got going on. And once you fix this, don't worry about it. You can grow hair, but we need to get rid of this problem first.
Yes, that's a given. It reminds me of the saying my dad used to always say, like, you can't put new wine in old bottles. So once you gut out the old things and everything's clean, your body can set back to normal. Because like you said, hair wants to grow. So I think that's the thing that makes conversations like this so good, because most people think that if somebody's a scientist or if you're deep into this, that means that you're immune to other issues and other problems. But I know I can only speak for myself and say, I think that's what made me a mad scientist. The things that I deal with in my own body, just being honest, even though I have clients, that wasn't the reason that I started digging into this. I started digging into it to heal my own body. So I think that it's really, really amazing that you've been able to piece these things together for people, because to me, these are the parts that people are missing, and these are the things that everybody puts together. The last thing I'm going to ask you, and then after you answer this question, you could just add whatever you want to add, or anything else you want to say to the people, and then we'll sign off, because I don't want to hold you all night.
No
But
worries.
my question to you is, does scratching the scalp actually cause more hair loss, or is that just a myth? And the only reason I'm asking that is because a lot of times, even though we've been talking for over an hour, a lot of times people kind of take things really literal. So when you say the word plaque, somebody may imagine like plaque on their teeth and like start scraping the scalp. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's
Yeah.
a whole side of YouTube with scalp scraping. So could you tell us, like, if is that the pros and the cons of that? Like, do you think that's a no-go, or like, what is your opinion?
Yeah, scratch the scalp, the plaque would be something similar to like a biofilm, and it's going to be on the third layer for the most part of the scalp. So scratching it with anything is not going to remove it. It's more or less purging. That's a whole different type of science. I'm still kind of developing it. But
Okay.
when it comes to scratching itself, I think it's two ways of looking at it. If you're scratching because you having symptoms, then again, it's better for you to say what is causing me to do this. But if you're using, let's say, a tool such as a gua sha tool or things of this nature in order to kind of get off, dead layers of the skin so that your follicles can breathe, your scalp can breathe, so there won't be any other the stuff that the bacteria and the yeast are going to eat, I think that's a good thing. So it shouldn't cause problems, and it shouldn't cause scratches or injury. But at the same exact time, you do want to use things in order to kind of keep that path clear.
Mhm.
But if you're getting symptoms of itching, irritation, infection, acne, all this, then we know that's an internal problem that's manifesting outward. A lot of times, matter of fact, going back to gluten, I would eat something with gluten, not know it's gluten inside of it. And then next thing you know, in about 10, it don't even take 45 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, my face starts flushing and I'll get acne and, around my nose immediately, like little red bumps
Mhm.
that quick. So my point is, what is really acne, but showing you what's going on internally, it's just manifesting outwardly. So if you're getting that on your scalp, or you're getting the sebum, you're getting the oil, or if you're getting like the little ache where it's kind of sore up there, real itchy, then we know that's internal, that's manifesting outwardly.
Oh, yes, perfect. Thank you so much for this. I think it's just, once again, I've been saying these things forever, but it's just so refreshing to hear you say it and to hear you say it in your own way, because you did add a little more to it, like your own spin. So I really, really, really appreciate that. So thank you so much for just spilling out the things that are in your brain with us today. I definitely want to have you on again, because I know, you gotta go. I'm not gonna keep you on here all night because we could do
Awesome.
this for another 2 hours. But um, do you have any, like, is there anything that you like wanted to say that you didn't tap into yet? Like, is there anything that you see on my channel I'm like constantly addressing all the time that you like, what, I want to say something about that. Like, is there
Yeah,
anything before we go?
you did say one thing that I wanted to kind of mention. I think that me and you both say the same. I can end with this. And we talked about the immune system and how the follicle has its own immune system, and how the immune system of the follicle kind of matches with like the placenta. So when I went back earlier talking about how I thought follicles are feminine, I want to bring it 360, right? I want to say it this way. If the follicle was a pregnant woman, how would she want it to live? And I think that's the key. And that's what actually changed my thought process when it came to hair. So if the follicle is a pregnant woman, then who's the child? It's the hair. So what would the child need from the follicle? It's going to need nutrition. It's going to need oxygen. It wants an environment that's not stressful. So if you keep the follicle in a calm state that is full of nutrition, is getting the right things from the body, is getting the oxygen, it's going to be able to bring that baby to term. And what is term? Terminal. But if you take that follicle, right, and you give it stress, we all know what happens, respectfully, when women are pregnant and they get too much stress. We don't want that. We want the opposite of that. So my final thought would be, treat your follicles as if they're pregnant women and they want to bring the baby to term, and they want that baby to keep growing and keep growing and keep growing, for years and years and years. And the way to do that is to give her a calm environment. You want to give her a clean environment. The baby is sanitized inside the womb, so you want the scalp to be sanitized, right? And also, because the follicle has immune privilege, it does that because it needs to protect its baby, which is the terminal hair, from the body itself, because the terminal hair grows so strong, very fast, that the body looks and says, is this a problem? So the follicle is so protective of the terminal hair that it's saying, I'm going to protect it from even the body. I need to use these resources, but I don't want you touching my baby, right? But when we get inflammation, irritation, infection, what happens? The follicle gets overran. It's trying to fight against this infection. It's trying to fight against yeast. It's trying to fight against starvation. It's doing all these things. It's stressed out, so the baby doesn't get to eat or grow. Then what does the body do? And you said it, Sin. It's going to jump across and say, look, you tried to take care of this and you can't. So I'm going ahead and shut this infection, inflammation down. As a matter of fact, I know it's going to stop you from growing hair, but it's very important for me to stop your problem, because what's going to happen is, if you keep getting worse, the entire body is going to be affected by the scalp. So here's what I'm going to do. I don't want to stop you from growing hair, but I got to stop you. And what does the follicle do? It's going to stop producing hair.
It's so beautiful, like when you really become a nerd like us and like start really, really looking into it, you like, God is really magnificent. Like, you can't say that our body wasn't like created by something. Like, when you
Absolutely.
think of it, your body is literally a city. Like, there are like legions upon legions of systems like all working and processing. And that's why I was like, oh my God, I have to have him on the channel, because people don't make the connection. Like, if my body is a city, right, it needs fuel, it needs food. And even in a city, there's like a whole waste unit. And I think
Mhm.
the part that a lot of Black people deduct is that our skin is like the export. Not the only export, but that's the way, like you said, it's the way that our body gets rid of the things that the other parts that we look at and we acknowledge as exit routes. We don't acknowledge our skin as those things. And I really wanted you to come on here to break that down, because the way that you explained it, I feel like it paints a really, really clear picture of why blocking the follicle, blocking the scalp, layering different products on, it does more harm than good. Because if the body wants to release things, why would you hold it in? Just like you said, I have two children. So when I'm making babies, right, when my body is producing a baby, the last thing that I want is not to be able to release certain things. Whatever I put in needs to be able to come out effectively, because if it doesn't, things are going to build up. It's going to affect my baby. It's going to affect the way that my baby grows and all of the things. So that was an amazing analogy. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm not going to hold you any longer, but I do need to have you back on. So I'm going to let you go, but I'm going to ask them what they want to hear from you next. So that way you can come on like in a couple of weeks again. Hmm.
That'd be my pleasure. Anytime you need me on, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything that you like have coming up? Anything you want them to know about?
Well, just two things. You go to backtothebarber.com. This is mostly for men, right? You know, hair loss, you're trying to restore your hairline, you're trying to get your hairline back high school like. Go to backtothebarber.com. And I also am creating an open source called the capilluscodex.com. And what this is going to do is going to put all of my research free on the net for men who's having problems with hair, where they can kind of figure out what to use. Do you use a derma roller? Do you use a derma stamp? Do you this? Do you do that? And kind of put that information out there for free so that men can start kind of reversing their hair loss. So again, I know that most of your subs are women, but if they got men, brothers, boyfriends, friends, you can send them my way to backtothebarber.com.
Perfect. Thank you. And most of the women in here, they got husbands or boyfriends, or they want one. So that either way, it's gonna work out for them. Because if they don't got a boyfriend, it's like, oh, your hair balding. I know somebody that can help you. Like, you come through. So
Appreciate it.
thank you so much for that. I'm gonna leave well, all of your info is already in the description box, but I'll make sure that I double up and put anything there. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye. So you guys, what did you think? Give me a two. We about to go because we was already in here for a long time. And I'm gonna tell you something. Sir, Mr. Sir did a great job. I don't have anything else to say. But give me a two if you like this, if you enjoyed this, and if you want to see him back on the channel, right? And with your yes, because I know the answer is yes, with your yes, what exactly do you want us to tackle? What do you want us to talk about now? Because I know that for the most part, you didn't really hear anything new. Like, he explained things in a way wider spectrum, right? But what things do you want to hear from another perspective? Let me know. And I see the twos before we go. Sir, I hope that you can still see this, right? Because people in the place. And I really hope that you guys can see the way that two scientists actually talk, right? Because remember, one thing that I want to point out, and I'm so, oh, why didn't I bring this up? I knew I was gonna forget something when we was on here. When it as it pertains to DHT, right? And the way that he looks at DHT and things of that nature. It when you think of the nuances of everything and we put everything together in one holistic practice, it's very easy for you guys to understand these things. So make sure you check out the links in the description box below so you can see his resources, look through his blog and some of the info that he said he's going to present to you guys. And always go check my blog, because over on my blog, we have so much information. Every video that I make, I have a blog post that matches it, that has most of my data and some of my studies and things of that nature. So make sure you take advantage, and make sure you take advantage of the things that he has to offer. I really hope that this conversation painted a different picture for you guys, right? Understanding that even as I'm making certain videos and I'm explaining certain things scientifically to you, I hope you can see, right, how, first of all, none of the things that I said were made up, and B, there are so many different layers to your hair care. There are so many different layers to your hair growth and all of the things. So many different layers. And it's so much further than just whatever products, whatever oils and butters and greases that you can put on your scalp. There are so many layers. So before we go, give me a 5. Let me know if you took any notes, right? And if you have, everybody don't have to do this, but what was the part that you would say out of this whole live, what was the one part that like was the light bulb moment? What was your light bulb moment in this live? What was your light bulb moment? Let me know. And if you're watching this on replay, let me know exactly what you want us to dive deep into in part 2. Because let me tell you something. This is how stuff is about to go. Okay, over here, because like me and him talked about when before things started, I told him like I really want you to give like a man's perspective, even though most of our theories are basically the same. I still was like, okay, I really want you to give a man's perspective of it, because for some reason, a lot of times women can receive a lot better from a man than they can from a woman, and then moreover, it doesn't have anything to do with that either. That's not the main focus. But if you can see that even though the water is really muddy, right? Most of the time when you get on YouTube, if you see two people who think differently, right? You automatically think, oh my God, they must have beef. No, 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 no. Today, you heard the way that scientists talk to each other. Now, today it was more so like him kind of giving confirmation, but maybe next time we'll try to figure out where our opinions differ. I haven't been able to find anything. Yesterday and the day before, actually for like a week, I've been watching his videos trying to find where our opinions differ, and I haven't found a place. But we'll keep having these conversations, because when I say, oh, don't put oil and butters and greases on your scalp, you most of you just took that as, well, we're supposed to do that because my grandma said. But listen, some of your mothers, some of your fathers, all of the people, they fought to make sure you would be able to have an education so you can unpack these things and so you can learn these things. So in this next generation that's here right now, me, Shalissa, we are in the process of creating new paradigms, creating new systems. Most of the systems that you have right now were created by the scientists that came before us. But now in 2025, this is a whole new generation of scientists. So, yes, we will be breaking down things piece by piece and bit by bit. And no, it may not be something that you're used to hearing. It may not be something that's really, really popular. It may not get the view or the click, but that's not what we're here for, right? So I really, really hope that all of these things make sense in the nuance of everything. It has nothing to do with hair products, right? One thing that I want you to take from our conversation today is just noticing how everything that he said, everything that he did was all about, okay, what is happening? Balding. Okay, why? Why? And figuring all of these things out, not just going straight to like, oh, what? Y'all, nobody asks the question why. Everybody goes to what? What can I put on my scalp to fix it? What will reverse it? No, we need to go to why is this happening in the first place, right? So I love the fact that we were able to have these conversations, and I really hope that you guys understand that this is the direction in which my channel is moving towards. And sir, I don't know if you still watching, but I don't really think you understand what you just held yourself to, because anytime that I introduce like like a new theory, I get too much pushback on. I'm be like, what you doing? next weekend. You feel like coming through real quick because it was just too, the alignment was just too perfect. So I'm going to take 2 questions. And then after that, we are going to sign off. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm like overexcited because I feel like this is the first time that I've had another scientist like that meets me where I am, that we can like have conversation. I haven't, it's been years since I've had another professional that I could learn anything from. I'm just being honest. If I'm being honest with you. DHT. Yes, it was a great to understand how it affects. Yes, and that's the thing. It was. At first when I heard like DHT now, but then that's why you have to listen because everybody has to understand the nuance of things. He wasn't saying, "Oh, DHT is a non-factor. It don't have a problem." No, it's just to understand the nuance and where these pieces fit together, right? So this was a great conversation just for you guys to start thinking. I hope that everybody took notes. Give me a 3 in the chat if you took notes. As a man, I break out. Excuse me. Excuse me. As a man, the breakdown of the plaque and the shiny head made so much sense. Yes. And these are the things that I want us to think about, right? Like, I don't want you to constantly be victims of products, right? I'm not saying that products are bad because some are amazing. There are some products that will help you get out of this place, but most of you go from product to product to product to product, and all of these products end up making the cases worse. So what he taught us today and what he explained to you guys today about plaque on the scalp and things of that nature, and knowing all of the things that you now know, explain to me how adding a random grease or butter just to be adding it, or explain to me how adding blue magic to the scalp, how that helps in any way, shape, or form. These are the things that I want us to start thinking about. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm trying to invoke you thinking, right? Because at the end of the day, the only reason that people are able to market the things that they're able to market towards you, the only reason they're able to say random things and spread misinformation as truth is because they know you're not thinking. I want you to think, right? Just like there are different inflammatory pathways, another inflammatory pathway is your inability to open your mind and think for yourself. So I hope that today in this conversation, we both open a lot of doors for you to just begin to think, right? Because now that we've had this conversation, you could just think about the fact like, okay, if I get ready to put, if there's a brand new product that comes out, if tomorrow Beyonce come out with a new grease, Beyonce come out with a new grease and she put bees in it, everybody gonna go out and try to buy it. But with what he taught you about the 3 whys, ask those questions before you spend your money, because we can't keep constantly claiming to be the victim when we're not thinking critically, right? My channel is to engage your mind so you can begin to think critically. Okay? Because everybody who is presenting something to you that you haven't heard before is not spreading misinformation. Sometimes you're just learning something for the first time, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. So let my channel and the channels that I introduce you to, like this Genius's channel, make sure that you take advantage. Like, go over there and ask questions. That's what we're there for. We're not just making these videos just to make them. We're not just spreading this information just to spread it. Like, I don't think y'all realize how obsessed with the human body you have to be to collect the type of data that we're sharing. I don't think you understand how obsessed you have to be with this information to connect all of these different things at one time. Like when he talked about plaque, and when he talked about inflammation and all of the different pathways, that wasn't one book. This is mastering one theory here, mastering another theory here, mastering another theory here. You have about 10 theories, 10 things that you learn, 10 books, about 133, 400 pages each. and you compact all of those into one theory. They're layers. So here on social media, what happens is a lot of professional cosmetologists, a lot of professional barbers, a lot of scientists are coming online, and we're giving you the steps, the scientific steps. And guess what? It may make you uncomfortable. You know why? The people that you've been listening to aren't scientists, and that's not saying anything bad about them. It's not saying anything bad about them, but just because you pick up a camera doesn't automatically make you a scientist. It doesn't. It may make you somebody interested in science, but do you have the application? Have you produced anything? Like what I told you guys about the scientific method. You first have your hypothesis. He already had his hypothesis when he started to lose hair, when his hair started to thin out. He started making educated guesses. Okay, it could be because of this reason. It could be because of this reason. It could be because of this reason. And then he goes through the scientific method, making his theory, doing test after test after test after test after test, until one of those tests end up producing the result that he wants. And then when one of those many tests end up producing the result that he wants, then you test that result over and over and over and over and over and over again until you constantly come back with the same result over and over and over again. And then that's not enough, because these are just my experiments. And then after I do all of these experiments, get all of these different results, then I compact my data. I start to study it even more, and I start to test it amongst my peers and amongst other information that I see. And then after that, I know that I know that I know that I know. And then I make my conclusion, and then boom, shakala boom. Then we have whatever new thing that we've came out with, right? But I want us to get to the place where we're open and accepting to those things. How can you constantly say you want Black people to go further, you want us to learn more, but here we are. There are Black people that are really like hands in books, figuring things out. We have the answers. Are you in a space where you're open enough to receive them? That's the real question, because we're doing the work. Are you in a place where you're open enough to receive it, right? Most mad scientists became mad scientists because they first had a problem internally that they had to fix. And then we master it year after year after year. These are the things that I really want everybody to understand. My light bulb moment was when he said that if you use bad things in your hair, oh, excuse me, a scalp, that is going to take it in anyway, because that's what it does. But the outcome is what's really going to let you know how wrong it was. And those are the things that I need you to understand. Like, y'all need to understand, when y'all put the thing, all of this stuff in your scalp, the stuff that isn't on the pillow, the stuff that isn't sitting on your hair, it's going into the body. But what is it doing? It's the same thing. I wish I would have brought this up when that's why you gotta come back, sir. I wish I would have brought this up, because it's the same thing with coconut oil, right? I'm sure they don't experience, barbers maybe don't experience that, but in the hair salon, when you're talking about coconut oils, a lot of their key constituents bind to protein. Your hair is protein, right? So it binds to the hair shaft, and when it binds to the hair shaft, y'all, it creates so many different issues. And you go and you tackle these issues with more oils, with more butters, with more greases. But coconut oil, there was somebody who told y'all, the person who made coconut oil like popular, she made it popular because she was telling you guys, okay, hey, what it'll do, it'll end up retaining moisture. No, what it is doing is binding to protein and trapping the water molecule. That's why Black women are leading and hydro fatigue. That's why your hair shaft is breaking down. And that's why I was like, oh my God, he has to come on the channel. Oh my God. Because it's the same thing. What he said about the hair shaft being dead. Give me an 8 before we go. How many of you walk around believing that the hair shaft is dead? Y'all want to know who told y'all that? YouTubers who have no type of scientific education on anything. How can something that has a cuticle that can open and close during to the temperature, or how do you have something that a hair shaft that has a cortex and it has melanin and all of the things? How could this be something that's dead and not full of life? So these are things that I want us to think about. I just want you to think. I'm not telling you, oh, listen to me. Don't listen to nobody else. Oh, only go watch his videos and mine. Don't watch nobody else's. I mean, that would be great. I mean, it would. It'd help you a lot. But that's not what I'm saying. I just want you to think. People are not going to stop making these videos. They're not going to stop making them. And I don't want them to. I just want you to think. Because I'm not calling anybody dumb, but my dad used to always tell me, like, a dummy's not going to talk to themselves. If everybody starts ignoring all of these random videos, then things will change. They'll stop making them. Everybody will focus on the science if that's all you're focused on. So change your focus. And also keep using the wrong things on my hair and scalp, because the scalp system, yes, is focusing on constant repairing rather than smooth selling, focusing on hair growth. Yes, yes. These are the things that I just wanted y'all to start thinking about. I want you to think past what product get the most slip? What make it shiny? He said the same thing that I tell you guys all the time, which is that it's for a vanity metric. Yes, it make your hair smell real good. It make it look real shiny and all of the things, but that's all it's doing. It's not doing anything else. The shiny head thing will have me looking out for men. Yeah, yeah, but seriously, like, even those are things that you have to start thinking about. And I can always be honest and say, like, I don't know everything, and men are not my expertise. Do I know about it? Absolutely. But is it my expertise and my area of focus? No. Right. And he even said that, like, men and women, we are a little different. And that is why you need to listen to scientists that tell you that. You cannot learn how to grow your hair listening to a beard, a man tell you anything about his beard. Did you notice, like, his picture popped up? So he got a full beard too. He never said anything about the hair growth cycle of his facial hair. He never brought that up. Because your hair growth cycle, a man's hair growth cycle on his beard and his hair growth cycle on his hair are two completely different things. You want to know how you can tell? There are men who go bald, have no hair on their head, but beard, they can grow it to their knees if they want to. They're not the same. And that is why you need to start paying attention to the nuance of all of this information. Start paying attention to the smaller details, right? And start paying attention to people who give you the ins and outs, not just, oh, this is the best thing to put on. No, nothing that you do externally is going to change anything internally. Those are the things that I need you to understand. And obviously, I needed him to say it a little calmer than me. But it's nothing. You do not change anything. I don't care what grease Beyonce make. I don't care what oil she makes. You will not change anything that's going on in your guts microbiome through adding anything to the scalp. It doesn't work like that, right? You want to allow your skin to release. Just let it release. Keep everything clean and operate from the inside. So all of the herbs that y'all want to put in y'all hair operate from the inside. Granted, there are topical treatments. Rewind it and listen to what he had to say about that. There are topical treatments, but we need to understand. Thoughts on apple cider vinegar rinses. Go on YouTube when this is over. Just type in apple cider vinegar Sindal and see what I think. I think that if you can use it to unclog your toilet, I don't think you should use it on your hair. Apple cider vinegar is pure vegetable acid. Did y'all thumbs up the video? Yeah, guys, give the video a thumbs up. Seriously. I came across the live stream and heard 20 minutes of it. I enjoyed the conversation. A lot made sense due to the hair loss from alopecia areata. No one really broke it down for me over time. I researched. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I need y'all to understand, like, I don't know if everybody caught that, but when we were having the conversation, I said, like, my husband's great aunt, she just passed away. She was 105 years old. So if you are 30 and you're bald, something's wrong. You're not going to tell me that our creator made your lifespan possibly 105 years, but you're going to be bald head from age 35 to 105? That's crazy as hell. God, like, you going to have hair for the first 35 years of your life. Then after that, girl, get some scarves, get some hats, get some bonnets. I don't know. No, something's missing. This is why I wanted him on here. Answer the why. You have to ask yourself these questions. Scientists are professional question answers. The only difference is we're the ones responsible for finding the answers to the questions that we ask. That's the only difference. I am a professional question answerer, a question asker. I ask questions professionally. That's why I get so offended when people ask questions disrespectfully, because I don't have a problem with you asking me questions. That's what I do for a living. What you mean? These are the things that I want you to think about. Oh, hi, Hastian. Thank you for making this hair better. Ooh, no problem. How do you like it? Do you have it already? Do you like Simple Shea Bay? Let me know. And by the way, if you do like Simple Shea Bay, can you go back on the website under Simple Shea Bay and write me a review? Oh my God. People think that I don't sell anything and I'm already sold out. Like, well, yeah. Anyway. Hair has life. Yes. Thank you. Oh my God. Some cosmetologists have said hair was dead. Yeah. Uh-huh. But that was a light bulb moment for you. And that's the thing. And let me take my glasses off so you can see. I'm not trying to be rude. I don't got no mascara on or nothing. I don't wear lashes, but I'll be wearing mascara. I don't got none on anyway. I need y'all to understand, right? When you go to cosmetology school and when you go to barber school, your education, the only education you get is what is on state board, period. So the information that this man dropped today, he did not learn any of that information in barber school. He has been studying on his own. He did not learn any of that information in barber school. They don't teach you that in barber school. The information that I give y'all here on my channel, we don't go over every scalp disorder, all of the different forms of yeast and bacteria that live on the scalp. We don't go through that shit in cosmetology school. You do not have to list all 1,098 forms of yeast and bacteria microbiome that lives on the scalp. You do not have to list those for your state board exam. You know why? Because you're not taught that. So the things that I teach y'all here on my channel are things that I've spent thousands of dollars to learn. So yes, you will come across a channel who's never really heard me say that they've never really heard of it because they only went to cosmetology school. I went to cosmetology school too, so I'm not knocking it. But I didn't only go to cosmetology school. This education does not come from there. So if your only education is cosmetology school, yes, you're going to be confused by the things that I say. Yes, you're going to think that I'm making it up. But if you do think that I'm making it up, I hope that today proved to you that everything that I'm saying out of my mouth has been scientifically proven. I want you to do me a favor. You could go back, watch this video, start this video from the beginning if you haven't, and listen to this man talk, and then go back through my playlist over the last 10 years. I have been telling y'all the same thing for years, a decade now. So at what point are we going to start to take in the information? Because at the end of the day, it's been coming to you. It's been coming to you. But other voices were louder, which is okay. I'm not shaming you for that. It is okay. But today, you have to make a choice. Who are you going to listen to? Are you going to listen to the people who are just like, oh, I saw this. This will get a bunch of views. Let me make this real quick. I've already showed you a video of a YouTuber who taught y'all Team Natural stuff. Tell y'all, hey, I don't even do this for real. I only do that to my hair to make the videos, and then after the video is over, I wipe my makeup off and I put my wig back on. These are the people that you're learning from. So you have to ask yourself, who am I going to prioritize? Am I going to prioritize people who are doing it for entertainment? Or am I going to prioritize people like Sin, people like the person that Sam brought up on? These are the things that you have to think about because it's so important. Because at QBS, it was it's an experience that you'll only get if your mind is open. If you don't have that type of critical mind that's ready to receive things that you've never received before, it'll go right over your head. But I challenge you to stop watching video. Wait, hold on, let me say this. If your intention is to fix things in your scalp, if your intention is to grow your hair back, then you have to be intentional on the people that you're watching. Are these the things that they're dedicating their life to? That's why I don't care what type of TikTok, whatever comes around. That's not my life's mission. You won't find me over there. TikTok shop, that's nice. You won't find me over there. Why? Because that's not what I'm doing. That's not what I'm about. That's not my mission. So now that you see, now that you know, now that you have information from another man, right? You can begin to make your own decisions. You have the information I'm giving you. You have the information AQBS gave you. You have the information all of these other people gave you. And guess what? You have your own brain and your own intellect. And you are able to pick apart the noise, pick apart the things that people are making up from the truth. It's so easy. You know why? Because science, pretty much things are pretty much the same. And if you find scientists like myself, like HUBS, that are on the same page, we're basically saying the same thing. Why? Because gravity is working the same for almost everybody. Unless you got a superpower that you didn't reveal that we don't know nothing about, don't post it on Instagram, girl. They're gonna try to poke you with scissors. But unless you have some type of superpower, whatever goes up is gonna go down. The science, no matter how many scientists you talk to, for the most part, unless they on some super friend stuff, which I ain't got nothing to say, gravity, the things that we have to say about gravity is all going to be the same. It's going to be the same thing with hair. Harpo, I do not know this man, and Harpo, he do not know me, this woman. But the things that we talk about on our channels are almost identical. Obviously, his is coming from a man's perspective and is geared more towards men, and mine is from a woman's perspective, coming and aimed more towards women. But girl, you coming over here for me, and then you can go take him over there to your husband. I mean, take your husband over there to his channel, be like, "Oh, baby, I got you something for your birthday." You know what I'm saying? So let me get to the rest of y'all comments. I love you guys so much. What can you say about moisture retention? I have a video on moisture, so type in moisture send out and a full video will pop up. All right, so I don't think anybody has any more questions. I love you guys so much. Make sure you do me a favor, and I know y'all already did it, but go do me a favor and go in the comments of this video and answer 2 questions for me. Tell me what part jumped out for you. Again, I know some of y'all said it already. I'm sorry. Do it again in the comments and not in the chat. So tell me one thing that was like the light bulb moment for you. Like, oh my God, what? And then number 2, what do you want us to tap into for part 2? Because y'all, we could talk about so many things. Like, y'all don't even know. Y'all don't even understand. So let me know in the comments what area you want us to go deeper into, and we will. What part jumped out for me? I mean, I didn't learn anything new because I knew everything that he said, but I'm going to say the thing that made me like, y'all couldn't see me, but I got up and I was like, it was a couple times. It was the first thing was when he was talking about the hair shaft being dead. That took me. Y'all couldn't see me. I was off screen. I started running around the room. I was running. Because that's one of Team Natural's favorite things to say. The hair shaft's dead. No, it's not. It's not. It's not, Shalissa. That's why y'all all got hydrogen fatigue, because y'all keep suffocating it. Huh? But I literally, I'm not gonna hold you, like, I think my brain just kind of went like blah, 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 like blank, trying to figure out what my favorite part was. Because in closing, and I told him this, I don't think y'all understand how gratifying it is to hear another scientist say everything that I've been saying on my channel and getting attacked for, by the way, for over a decade. It just flowed out like butter. It was just like normal, like, yeah, like duh. And you know when something is factual that you've been studying, when you're able to just make up like analogies and metaphors to break it down. Like it was just all of the things for me. So I don't know, guys. I'm happy. I'm excited. Yeah, I saw that, but so well, I answered it for them too, because I'm like, oh, maybe I should answer the question, and then they'll feel more warranted to answer the question too. But I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here, and thank you, Boo, for putting the questions up. I'll put them up again. What question jumped out for you, and what do you want us to address for part 2? Let us know. I know. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. My moderators are the best. So again, thank you guys so much. And I would say, ooh, tag me in other scientists. I mean, send me other scientists, but I don't want you to do that. Not right now. I'm not bringing nobody else up here. I'm antisocial. I don't really talk to that many people. And I've had enough for a while. I've had enough. Right? This is... So I just need one more female scientist. So it's gonna be 2 scientists that I put on. So sir, you shouldn't have said that, sir. Cause you should not have said that. I mean, like, what's up, sir? What you got going on, Mr. Sir? You feel like I'm actually not even gonna say that. I'm just gonna like copy and paste the title, like, hello, my dear sir. And I'm just put that title and be like, so what you trying to... That's all. But anywho, is that all your real hair? I have 2 tracks in. So if you look, I don't know why y'all always... Okay, so my hair is right here. And then the tracks is right here. Oh, boom, boom. What's that, like a... maybe like an inch. Oh. So I mean, yes, but it's a couple of tracks in of them. Inflammation and eating was it for me. And if inflammation and eating was it for you, all of y'all, make sure you go join my free group, because over on my free group I have like a couple of different detox diets. There are all types of resources for you in the free group, so make sure you go take advantage of it. Thank y'all. Okay, this was fun. And I think, well, not I think, I know from now on our lives are only going to be like this. They're only going to be informational lectures. Excuse me. I love you guys so much. Again, AQBS, thank you so much for, chilling with us tonight and teaching the girls some things. I appreciate it. Thank you. But you guys, make sure, don't forget to go comment, and I will see you next time. Bye, girl.